Anyway,
So,
um,
so, so, Simon and Andy, you've chosen to join us this morning. Is it simply for the crack, or do you have particular questions that you would like to ask?
No, really, just for the crack, but also obviously because I'm involved with the online models meeting now, just from your
Oh,
perspective, how we can go forward with that in the long term.
uh, well, I think it's an option that we make available to members, and if we're comfortable that it's going to go forward, then it's something that we can promote. Um, I think it is conceptually a drop-in session, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, and we just make remind people periodically that it's there and it's a facility, virtual meeting facility, if they want to use it.
Yeah.
Um, I
my
don't
pro-
really see we can do a lot more than that. Maybe you might want to write a bit of an article for Guild News. I think that would help promote it. Um, called Good Morning, Martin. Talk about the shape of the meetings and the things that you do, and extend an open invitation to members to join, and remind people where they can find the schedule of meetings and the links to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. We got a
if you
small bit.
fancy doing that,
Yeah, we've got a small bit in the one that's just come out, which is just a general overview of what we're doing. But I suppose we could pick out some of the topics we've been covering, and they have been spoken about on other forum posts. I mean, Rob, the gearbox, that was quite a good conversation we had, and it was connected to a member in Australia who chose to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to join the meeting. So that was quite good from his part. But also we had a chap from America. So I think it is spreading, and yeah, I think the context of it has been very good, persuading a few people to have a go at some modelling, which was quite difficult for them. So that could be a good way to publicise us.
mm.
do you
Yeah,
have
I
considered
think.
having it?
Sorry, go
Sorry,
on.
have you considered having it on different days of the week? Like an evening with is the same day every month. You're having it, I think, on Thursdays at the moment, which is my club night. So I'm never able to join it, but I'd like to dip in at some stage if you had it on different days of the week.
Yeah, I mean that could be an option in the future. I mean, we only chose Thursdays initially because it suited me at the time, but I know Rob, as a co-host, he's pretty open to other dates. So we do change it a little bit. We just recently done that because it obviously clashed with an evening with. But yeah, that's something we can look at in the new year about changing them dates around. And yeah, I mean, feedback from people as well would be good to see where they want to go with it.
Yes, the danger with having different days of the week between meetings is that people kind of lose track, and then they suddenly realise that they've missed the meeting because they're used to it being on a Thursday, and this week it was on a Tuesday. So that's maybe something just to consider. Um, but you're
Yeah,
right, Andy. You're right, Andy, that having it always on the same time may well exclude people. Simon's call. I mean, it's your project, Simon. I think it will be a slow burner. I think you're right. We didn't expect that you would be joined by multitudes. But I'm pleased that it's taken off. How many participants do you have in a typical meeting?
It sort of varies between sort of 10 and 15, and obviously not for the complete evening. So
Oh,
people do drop in and drop out, but actually give apologies when they can't attend. So you get that feeling that it's creating that sort of club atmosphere where it's an evening where you can just drop in, have a chat, and it,
mm,
it's getting that vibe now where I think people are very comfortable to talk. Initially, there was probably a little bit of reluctance for people to tell us what they were doing, but one of the things that did encourage people was not recording, because obviously some people are a little bit wary about showing too much, and that
yeah,
that has gone down very well.
yeah. I think the moment that you record something, people are very chary about showing things and saying things. Um, it's of the moment, isn't it? And if you want it to be like a virtual club, then that's what it wants to be. Just say welcome to Alan Parker, and also to Nick. Um, Welcome to the meeting. We've just been talking with Simon Hill about the virtual club meetings that he runs, the modelers evenings that he's been running now for about 6 months, isn't it, Simon?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Yes,
about that, because we piloted it in the summer, didn't
that's
we?
right. Yeah.
Yeah, so for 5-6 months, and that's picking up nicely. If you're getting 10 to 15 people dropping in during a session, that's as good as some clubs, physical clubs, get on their club night.
Mm.
I think that's pretty good.
Is there any sort of agenda before you get going on a modelers meeting? Do you kind of discuss the previous meeting, what you might do next time?
There is always a bit of a follow over from the previous meetings as things tend to develop, like the gearbox has developed. But I did throw in a couple of areas where, just for a discussion about various items we could talk about, and it has generated a little bit of a conversation. But I think people are quite happy just to sort of go with the flow of the evening and then bring up a topic they're working with, or perhaps something they've seen, and we go along with it. I know Martin's joined us for quite a few sessions, and yeah, there's been quite a good conversation through Martin with various aspects of what's happening around him at the time. So I think as an open forum, it is good. I mean, if any member wants to bring in a subject, it's always welcome. And I've always said that if anybody's having a problem with, say, a specific item of modelling, we could always try and get other people that have got a specialist in that area to join us. I mean, my specialist is workshop, so I can generally talk all night about workshop issues, but get along with electronics and 3D printing and all the other bits go with it, I'm completely lost. So I'm learning as we go along as well. And there's been quite a good topic on 3D printing as well.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
I just wondered that, you know, in advertising the meeting on the Guild website, rather than just say an online modelers meeting at this time, whether it might be worthwhile saying, you know, we plan to talk about X, Y, Z.
Yeah, we can try that. Yeah,
which might encourage other people to go, oh, that's interesting. Yes, I'd like to join that one.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
Yeah. I'll have a word with Rob and we get something together for probably not this week, because we're quite close to it, but something for the future ones on the run up to Christmas.
Okay, let's.
That's all positive. That's good. Welcome to Chris, Chris B. You're muted, Chris. If you want to say anything, just take the mute off. Bottom left-hand corner of your screen if you're using a PC. Okay, I'm guessing that's a not. Alan, have you joined us sort of just to listen in, or do you have particular questions that you'd like to ask? Again, you're muted, so for us to hear you, you'll need to click on the microphone button in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. You see that? You're muted still, we can't hear you, I'm afraid. If you're using a PC, look at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen on the toolbar. There is a microphone button and it says mute, or unmute actually.
I'm actually asking to do that myself.
A bit of a problem there, maybe.
I've sent a message to Alan to ask him to unmute. I can't actually unmute him from here.
No.
I can mute people from here. I can't do the opposite, which seems rather curious. I don't know why that is. Oh, here we are.
Yeah, sorry.
There we go. Very good. Yes, I was just saying, have you sort of joined just to join in
just having a wander around an exhibition as I would if I went to a real one and see what's going, and then come back to the things that catch my eye.
Fair enough.
Thank you very much.
Fair enough.
No, I just thought if you joined because you had a specific question, then we'd make space for you to ask it.
There is so much to see, and I don't think I've got all day to do it, but thank you very much.
No, you're very welcome anyway. Okay, and Andy, same invitation to yourself, really. Are you just joining for the crack, or is there something that you particularly wanted to discuss?
Nothing I particularly wanted to ask. I was interested to find out, what your role is, and I mean, I know what a chairman does, but just your perspective on chairing what must be quite a difficult group of individuals to chair, and no, I'm not just the committee, but the whole guild seems, certainly online, seems to be, there's quite a bit of animosity, and I wondered how you sort of cope with all that. And
right, yeah, fair question. Actually, when I was originally asked to step up to the chair after John Birch resigned, just as an interim, basically to keep the chair warm until the AGM, which I agreed to do, and one thing leads to another, of course. It's not a job for life, I've been assured.
Yes, it is.
And there was a question on the forum, actually, Guild Talk, saying, given that we've had, was it 6 chairmen in 5 months or something? No, in 5 years, 6 chairmen in 5 years. Hi, Nick. Is it really a job that's possible? And I said, well, if I wouldn't have taken it if I didn't think it was. I think the guild went through a phase. It went through a phase where there were a number of highly opinionated and quite motivated individuals who really wanted something different from what the guild was offering, and they went off and formed their own society, which is fine. But we also had a small number of individuals who were treating Guild Talk as their blog, personal blog, rather than using it to talk about guild matters. And that had to be stopped. So we've done that. And the forum is, well, people tell me, my opinion, it's a much better place. People tell me it's a much better place and a much friendlier place. So hopefully that's a phase that we've moved through. I'd like to think so anyway. It doesn't mean it can't happen again, of course. The guild is probably not singular, but certainly not unique anyway, in that its membership is composed of older people. Let's face it, you can model in O-gauge on a shoestring, but most people don't. So I think probably we have a significant proportion of our members who've had successful professional lives, probably been managers, probably project managers. They basically, they've taken charge of things, they've driven things, and you don't lose that that mindset just because you've joined a society and you've retired. So we're always going to get some push and tug, I think, from the membership, and that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. You're talking about chairing a difficult group of individuals, and I'm going to have to be a little bit careful what I say here, actually, because two of those individuals,
some of us listening.
Actually,
I was talking about the wider guild rather than.
Oh, right. I was going to say.
From the guild.
Firstly, I was asked if I would step up to the chair, and I think that helps, because in the past the management committee has had people parachuted in on them. So I think that helps. I was a known quantity, and funnily enough, when we resurrected the strategy group, one of the members of the previous group, Tim Humphreys, who himself was actually an interim chair and had got a bad press actually on the forum, and that was pretty unjustified, I think. He said to me, what do you think it takes to be a chairman of the guild? And I said, well, I think I'd been in post for 4 weeks or something like that, and didn't really have much of an answer for him. But I said something along the lines of, well, having 2 ears and 1 mouth and using them proportionately, which, thinking back, actually wasn't such a bad answer. I think if someone is elected to the chair and they have a personal agenda, then potentially there's a problem, because either you've got to motivate the rest of the management committee to take that on board and travel with you to help implement it, or you've got to try and impose it on people and implement it without their support. And either way, you're pushing water uphill. Now, my view is that the chairman's role is largely that of a border collie. You're there to make sure that everything's moving in the right direction. You're there to be a figurehead and just occasionally be a voice of sanity, you'd like to think. But also, I think that the management committee works best. And again, it's populated by motivated and capable people when they're allowed to pursue their own projects in their own way, with support when it's necessary and guidance when it's necessary. And if you want an example of that, and we'll go back to what Simon's doing, is not on the MC, but that came from the forum. He suggested, would it be possible to run these online modelling sessions? Something that he'd been involved with during the lockdown period. And I thought, well, actually, it's worth giving it a try. And Simon's run with it, is making a great success of it. And I take very much the same view with members of the MC. Ken Gray, who's the area rep for the Southeast, has conducted a survey of existing members. Got a phenomenal response. I was amazed by the response that he got. 2,000 responses from 5,300 membership. I mean, normally, if you do a bit of a straw poll and a questionnaire, if you get a 5% response, it's good. 2%, 1 to 2% is fairly normal. But I mean, that's a phenomenal response. So the membership was very willing to share what they were doing, what they were interested in, and what they wanted to see, what their priorities were from guild membership. And we're just getting to the point now where we're analysing those figures, and in fact, we shall be looking at that, if not at the MC meeting this coming week, because that is already a pretty full agenda, then certainly at the next one, with a view to looking at what we can implement to help meet some of those wishes. Which, again, I think that's a tremendous piece of work, tremendous initiative from Ken, and it would be ridiculous to have done all that work, for him to have done all the analysis, produce a report with recommendations based on what members say they want, and then ignore it. Why would you do that? So we shall be looking at implementing that, and that's, I mean, Ken is new to the MC this year. That's pretty much the first thing. He kicked the private owner wagons, the guild special wagons off. He did that. Very impressive business case. I'll use business terminology, but it'd gone out, it found out what people wanted, it found out how many people would be interested in buying it, it found out what it was going to cost, and what came to the MC was a proposal, a costed proposal. And we thought, well, got to go with it. The members out there say they want this. What could happen? What's the worst case scenario? We end up with some wagons in the shop, which will sell over a period of time. In the event, they sell very, very quickly. So we've done it again. So that's another example of an initiative that someone's brought to the committee, which we've run with. And that's the way I intend to work. I'm in place for the next 2 years, for better or for worse. Hopefully, at the end of that, we shall have shaped events to the new financial climate. That's been a bit of a body blow, it has to be said. When we went back to events, we didn't know whether people would turn up for them, and they do, but not as many. And there may be other reasons for that. Things like the rail strikes and the other stuff that was happening last year, that minor issue of a new king and so on. But we'll see. I think personally, and don't take this, please, as an official guild view, this is my personal view, I think that we shall have a smaller footfall going forward than we've had in the past. That certainly seems to be borne out by other shows, not just model railway shows. So if our footfall is 20% down from where it was pre-COVID, that may be as good as it's going to get. And that means that we've got some decisions to take as a management committee, which we shall do in consultation with the membership. One is that we tailor the events to suit the income. But that means that the events will be smaller than they've been. It means that the things that cost, which are layouts, basically, layout attendance, will have to go, and there will just be trade shows. And our members say that's not what they want. If they want layouts, and they want demonstrations, and they want seminars, and they want a more rounded show, that's fine. That's fine. But it does mean that they will not break even. There's costs associated with that, because all of those things are costs. And I'm afraid that venue hire has just gone through the roof.
I was going to say, I'm looking at the accounts for certainly Guildex and Kempton Park and Barnsley, which were out recently. I mean, layouts are not the biggest cost. The biggest cost by miles is the venue. I'm not sure what you can do about that. I'm no expert, but it strikes me that slightly smaller venues might be the first place to look, and that obviously means cutting your cloth as well, because you can't fit so much in. But
first of all, you decide what sort of show you want.
Yeah,
if you only want a trade show, then you can go for a smaller venue. If you're wanting a rounded show, and members say they want large layouts,
well, definitely.
Then and if that's what the membership wants, that's not a problem. But there has to be an acceptance that it probably will not. Well, it won't break even financially. And the government can say, "Oh, rate of inflation has dropped to 7%."
No, I've got this.
Leave it if you like. I don't know which shopping bag they're looking at. Certainly not my shopping basket. Venue hire has gone through the roof. Hotel rooms are double what they were pre-COVID. Just double. Table hire went from £4 a table at Kettering to £12, and we hire 200 tables. And yes, you can shop around, and you can trim prices. But if one company's charging 12 quid for tables, I mean, table hire companies aren't actually that common. So you've probably got 2 or 3 companies to choose from in a particular area. If one company's charging 12, you can bet your life the others will be competitive. Quotes. You're not going to have one company charging 4 and another company charging 12. So that's where we are. That's where we are. There's got to be an acceptance, and really, we're saying, well, okay, this coming year, we're probably going to be accepting that there will be a cost in running the shows. And if members say, well, that's not something we want to bear, then so be it. But the shows will have to change shape. That's the reality of life.
Sure.
Yeah, I hope I
think it would be nice
your
to
question.
have a year with.
Yeah. Okay.
We saw versions of shows, which I am, is a keen interest of mine. I've been to every show since COVID, apart from Barnsley, and that was a train strike. But I think a year free of train strikes would allow you to test the true potential for the shows, rather than perhaps a slightly distorted one. I mean, Kettering made a small, didn't it?
Yeah,
which didn't have a strike, and it's an established show.
The problem we have is that with inflation goes industrial unrest.
Indeed.
And the government isn't particularly interested in awarding the rail workers what they're looking for. Indeed.
But we were quite unlucky hitting 3 straight days out of 4 shows.
It's a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Charles, there's been a message on the chat from Chris B to say he's very sorry. He's been listening to you, but his microphone and the video isn't, and his screen isn't working properly. So.
Okay. Well, they can hear the discussion anyway, even if he can't participate. Still welcome. Still welcome. And if Chris wants to message or text a question, then we can handle it that way.
Yeah, I've asked him to do that if he has a question of you.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
He has said on the forum there's been lots of discussion about shows, where they should be, and do we have enough or too many?
Yes, and that's a debate. You know, if you ask 5 people, you get 5 different answers. We shall be rearranging the shows a little bit, largely because we've got to, because of date availability, and we're looking at a northern show later in the year rather than in the summer. That'll be a new venue, probably somewhere in the northwest. Maybe a little bit cheaper, I don't know, but we'll try and make it on a main line, which Barnsley, to be fair, isn't. In terms of public transport, Barnsley is not the easiest place to get to, strike or no strike. But they only literally have the one day that they could offer. It's a council-run leisure centre. They host weddings and things, so there's always going to be competition for parking and for catering. So it wasn't an ideal venue, but it was seen as being within spitting distance of Doncaster, and it certainly was affordable. Nevertheless, because of the rail strike on the day, it returned a deficit. So despite all that, it was a calculated risk, really, when we made the swap. But we thought it would be okay, and it might have been okay had we not have had the rail strike. Yeah. But we're looking at something in the late autumn for the north, avoiding the Guildford trade show weekend, which is also the same as the Manchester show weekend. The Manchester show, of course, is a multi-scale show, but there are traders that we would like at our show that will be at Manchester, and similarly will be at Guildford. So that's obviously a weekend to avoid. In late November, perhaps, if we can find a slot and a suitable venue. And that's what Jack is currently on with. I'm hoping she'll have some news for us at the MC meeting on Wednesday. As soon as we agreed something, it'll go out and to the membership. But that's in train at the moment, if you'll pardon the expression. I'm just waiting to hear her findings. But there are other possibilities as well, and an idea I've been playing with, and it's just my idea. Again, it's a personal idea. It's not guild policy. Might be to do something with, say, the Keighley-Worth Valley Railway. They, in the past, have had a model railway exhibition and annually hold a beer festival in the carriage shed at Oxenhope, which is at the end of the line. Now, it's a bit out of the way, but having said that, anyone travelling by public transport to Leeds can get to Keighley easily enough, and then they can ride the Keighley-Worth Valley to the show. And we could do joint ticketing, something like that. They have catering already set up, catering arrangements already set up. And entries to the show could be show only, or it could be show and day rover ticket. Haworth is just down the road for spouses and significant others. Go and visit the Bronte village of Haworth, or hop in the car and hop over the hill to Hebden Bridge and go and have an alternative visit in Hebden Bridge. There's the canal there, and it's quite a picturesque sort of place. So that might work. It's not something I've explored at the moment, but it's a possibility. And
the Thames Valley do it very successfully, which
because
it can work.
Yeah, because the Worth Valley would have a source of income. I mean, they would be interested in us presenting 600 to 800 of our members at a show we're running to their railway. Because there's an income source from them, in addition to whatever the hall or the carriage shed cost, the carriage shed might be very affordable. And as you say, it's venue hire that's the biggest cost.
Yeah.
So that's something to look at. I mean, I'm talking about Keighley-Worth Valley, but I mean, there are other railways as well that might be very interested in hosting a show for us.
Well, the Great Central do a model railway show, don't they?
Yes, yeah, and that's the biggest Great Electric trade show. And that's the biggest growing show, according to a couple of traders I've talked to, one of which is Alice Clark. And that's the biggest growing show and one of the best attended shows in the country.
Yeah, yeah. I think the attraction of having a real railway just outside is got to be a bonus.
Yeah, and free parking by comparison with, let's say, Worley, where it costs you 12 quid a day to park your car, in addition to whatever you're paying to go into the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a lot of things going for it, and I think it's maybe a route we could explore.
I mean, we went to the Great Central a couple of years ago when there was no show in the during the pandemic. This was the first one, and the way that they'd arranged it, where they had the various scales separated out at each of the stations. So if you wanted to see all of it, you were virtually compelled to travel by train. But the train service was brilliant. It was better than Southern on a good day. It was so frequent, and you didn't know what was going to turn up to run you down to the next station where you could see the next bit of the show, and that was a great idea.
Well,
I would, having said what you just said, Charles, about the shared show with that, I'd like to I haven't been there, but I know people who've been to the Severn Valley sort of get together that they call it, and that it goes down extremely well as well. So I think a combined show might be the way to go, really. But
it's certainly something that is probably worth exploring, because the financial climate that we're in at the moment is not going to change in the short term. So I think if we want to continue having the sort of shows that members say they want, there's going to be an annual cost, and a significant cost to that. And this may be a way of ameliorating it. To return to the Keighlingworth Valley, there's also the Vintage Carriage Trust in Ingro, which is the other end of the line, and they have space to host something as well. So we could have a split show. I mean, I don't know whether we could do it in conjunction with the Gauge 1 Society, Gimra, for example. We have discussed a joint event with other organisations in the past, and haven't wanted to do it because all sorts of problems with who provides the labour, how do you divvy out the income, and all that sort of stuff. It's complicated, or it can get complicated and acrimonious. We decided it was something we didn't want to do, but it doesn't mean to say we can't have a look at it again. The climate has changed. So these are all things, all possibilities for the future. And Chris is asking about visitor participation. I can only see half the message.
He says, a recent show, Railix in Taunton, that my group attended, we allowed young children to have a go at driving a loco. This got them and their parents really interested in no gauge. I'm not thinking about a test track, but an actual layout. Is this something that the Gauge Guild could have as an asset that could move around the country as a showcase for O gauge?
Well, that depends very much on the layout owners. Remember that the Guild doesn't actually own the layouts that are on show at an exhibition. If the owners of the layout are willing to let visitors drive their stock, then fine. It's certainly a question that we could ask groups that are bringing a layout. Chris means a Gauge-O asset. That would mean the Guild having its own layout. I suppose, well, we've got the small layout projects, haven't we? We've got the layout that was built at Guild X. And we could possibly create a shunting puzzle and let visitors work out a solution.
There wouldn't be much of a problem asking for donated stock for that, would it at all?
You wouldn't need a huge amount to do it. So no, I don't see it as being a problem.
Yeah.
But then you've got the Marple MRC people at Kettering last year. They didn't operate their railway. They basically got people to sit down in front of it and operate it. And that was extremely popular, extremely popular.
That again is very much, hi Jackie, that's very much down to the individual groups, whether they're they're happy with that. And that's not something that we can dictate. But to pick up Chris's point, setting up a shunting puzzle using the weekend layout build, the layout in a weekend, using that little layout would be certainly possible. And I think, yes, it's interactive. It gets people with their hands on the controls. I think it's an excellent idea. Thank you very much, Chris. Yeah,
I think it is a good idea.
Yeah.
We will need to terminate this session in about 3 minutes' time, just to give you a little bit of warning. So if there are further questions, maybe they could be raised now, please. We have a limited number of Zoom licenses, so we use the same Zoom license for the next session, which will be at 11:45.
Okay. Well, thanks to everybody for joining this morning. It's been an interesting discussion. I had a feeling I might be twiddling my thumbs actually for 3/4 of an hour, or else facing a political barrage. But no, it's been a good session. Thank you very much indeed. Jackie, I think we could have a chat about working out some kind of shunting puzzle for the little layout at Whalley, and maybe test it out there.
Yeah, no, it'd be a good time at Whalley to actually do something, so we can definitely do that.
Yep, let's do that. Right, well, thank you very much. I shall be talking about the modular layout project a little bit later this morning. What time is that? 11:45, is it? 12 o'clock? 12 o'clock, I think.
12 o'clock.
Yeah, if any of you care to join to talk about the modular layout project, that's absolutely fine. Be very welcome. Failing that, I'll see you around, I guess.